What is going on, guys? MG2005 Gundam here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Master Grade Wing Gundam Zero version Katoki from Mobile Suit Gundam Wing and its Waltz, The Glory of Losers. Now please clear something up for me about the series name, because the Japanese is Shinkido Senki Gundam Wing and its Waltz. So should it be New Mobile Report or just Mobile Suit, because it seems to jump between the two from time to time. But anyways, let's get onto the kit itself. Now, straight out of the box, with no effort whatsoever but a straight build, using the Barbatos as a comparison, this kit does have a little bit more detail and a little bit more tones of colors. Now, I'm not really too sure about the white, but people have been telling me that I'm missing out on the pearl white and the dim white. I still have yet to see that, but the blue is definitely more color separated, as evidenced with everywhere that has the blue. Mostly the gauntlets, just because you do see the light blue and the dark blue on the top, which is very nice, as a Katoki kit should be. But applying all of the decals, applying the lighting, and finally a matte top coat over it, this kit just looks astounding. Like, you can get away with not applying the decals, but then again, I don't feel like it is worth the Katoki tag without applying all the decals, especially when these are water slides, so it will look much better than dry transfers and the peel-offs. Applying all of this just makes this kit look astounding, and I don't regret putting in the 16 hours of work into the entire kit just to make it look this good. And of course, learning a new technique, which is also very awesome. But there are two gripes I have with this kit. First of all is the use of clear pieces, and second of all is the chest vents. Let's tackle the clear pieces first, because I don't understand why a Katoki kit would use such a cheap method to get around the metallic green, because the eyes and the sensors on the front and back of the head, the clear piece on the chest, and the sensors on the gauntlets are all using clear pieces, while they have metallic green stickers that go over it or under it to get the job done. So I don't really think that is what a Katoki kit should do with the high budget and all that. But that is maybe due to my inexperience with Katoki kits that swayed my judgment. So please tell me in the comments below whether or not this is the usual for Master Grade Katoki kits. Second of all, it is going to be the chest vents, because as a lot of reviewers have run into this problem, I have as well. This is not a exclusive problem, because, well, the bottom chest pieces especially, they come off very easily, and they are just held in there by friction, and they don't have anything to go over them inside to just lock them into place. So I eventually gave up and just cemented them in. So that is going to be a very prominent issue for the Wing Gundam Zero version Katoki, so please take note of that. But other than that, this kit is just amazing in every single aspect, apart from what I just mentioned. Articulation wise, this kit is no slouch either. So first of all, you do have a double neck joint in the head, so the funky chicken is possible, rotation is possible. Of course, be aware of the ears colliding with the backpack joints, so that's one thing to take note of. Let's get the wings out of the way first. The chest over here is on the double hinge, so you can actually swivel the entire chest unit forward for the final twin buster rifle shooting pose. Now the shoulders themselves are individual. They can of course have a joint that pops out and just drops down, or swivels up and down, just like that. The arms themselves, they can go outwards that far. They can of course rotate, but you need to rotate the shoulder armor in unison, just so it doesn't get in the way. And of course, with all the matte top coat and all that kind of stuff, it is already too tight. But it is just the right amount of tightness if you do not spray the pegs. And of course, the arms over here can rotate, the forearms can rotate, the elbows are on the double joints, which can bend the full 180, which is very nice. The fin over here can retract, just in case you want to use the shield for that arm. And the wrists are on ball joints. And of course the thumb is on a ball joint as well. Now the torso over here, it can bend forwards very nicely, but not in any direction at all. Of course it can rotate because it's on a peg. Front skirts came separate, side skirts can move, but of course you can shift them all the way back because this facilitates the transformation, but I'm just going to shift them up for now. Back skirts, as usual for Master Grades, can move, because if it doesn't, I'm going to be very pissed off. Now the legs over here, they do have a very unique mechanic that allows for the shifting, if I can find a place to grip the kit, of the legs from front and back, so as to facilitate the twin buster rifle pose. And of course you can achieve more articulation by going forwards like this, backwards, outwards not all the way, because of the construction. The joints inside the thigh is just cuffed in, and of course the central joint over here doesn't help at all, so that's a little bit of a bummer. They can rotate at the hip, and they do have a double jointed knee, but they can only bend that much if you don't open up the panels over here, which I think was supposed to be for the zero mode. And of course the knee doesn't move along, so you need to shift it out and just adjust it just to make it look natural. But of course you do have the classic thigh armor separation, which does look pretty okay. And then the feet over here, they can move forwards and back, not much, side to side on the top, rotate over here. The ankle armor is gonna have the decal peel off. I'm gonna fix that off screen, but you can have that up like that. There's a back panel over here that can open up. I assume that's gonna be for the zero mode as well. And the foot joint over here that's have an ankle rocker, and the toe joints for the transformation. And of course you do have a toe joint that goes up like this. For the wings, now the bottom ones over here, they have a central joint. They can rotate at the central joint. They can open up like this, and they can open up with some feathers over here. And finally, the big wings, they can move in and out at the central joint. They can rotate at the central joint. They are on a swivel here. They're on the ball joint right in there, so you can adjust that. And they are on a swivel at the wing itself. And of course they can open up, and they are actually on a gear kind of system, so you can actually just tug one and open them both. So all in all, articulation on the Wing Zero is phenomenal, apart from the outwards motion on the legs. Just because if you want to do something dynamic, you aren't really gonna get the legs to move out that far, are you? But apart from that, the articulation on the Wing Zero is absolutely phenomenal. First of all, for accessories and gimmicks, we have the opening cockpit. So you just tug out the cockpit and there you are, seeing Hero Yui sitting inside of there. Speaking of which, we do have a Hero Yui figurine that looks pretty alright. And then you do have the zero mode transformation. So basically you want to tug the cockpit piece down and open up the ears, just like so. But there are also other panels that can move. So yeah, we do have the leg panels that are back here, and of course we do have this panel that can open up. As I did mention in the articulation session, this panel can open up as well. So yeah, it does have kind of like a semi-metal build zero mode transformation that is inside there, but it's not the full-on thing. But it's still alright that they included a mini transformation for that. Moving on to actual weapons now. First of all, we start off with the beam saber stored in the back. They are on a joint over here that you can tip out and just tug the beam saber out. And of course, you do have some SB4 beams from all the way back in the 2000s. You just plug those in, and you just bring in one set of fingers, and you just plug the beam saber into the fingers before you swap them out into the hand. And here you have it. Of course, adjust the blade according to your own liking, and the fingers are just not gonna cooperate because I don't have enough clearance to put them in properly. Next on the menu, we do have the iconic twin buster rifles over here that do look pretty good. You do of course have a green sticker for the scope, but I did paint that in. The decal placement does allow for a little bit of accenting on the buster rifles design, which does look pretty nice. Now, before I let it hold it, there is a hidden mechanic for each one of these, is that you can open up this panel over here, flip the handle back, and flip the barrel down, flip the scope down. I really like how the pipes do just follow like that. Close it up, and this is basically the storage form of the buster rifles. So let me take off a wing just to show you guys. Now basically how you store it is to open this peg up. And what I usually do is to remember that this notch in here, this indent, goes into the circular slot over here. So you just slot that in and then close the peg up, and here you have it. The buster rifle is stored inside of the wing. Now of course you can hold the buster rifles in the hand utilizing the pair of trigger finger hands that this kit comes with. And you just plug the rifle into the hand. Just swap the fingers out. Now I'm going to show you guys how to combine these, and then don't worry, I'm going to display the twin buster rifle pose in the verdict so don't you worry. Now to combine them, of course you need to open up this panel down here. Same thing goes for the other one. And since I'm going to be using this on one hand and this decal is going to go out of position, I'm going to put some setter on that later. And you just combine it just like that. Plug it in on the bottom as well. And here you have it, a twin buster rifle in the twin mode. But before I put it on the Gundam, you're going to of course flip this peg down out here, which also does have a swiveling joint, which is pretty hard to execute and utilize without breaking. But here you have it, there is a swivel for this peg, and it's basically for you to stabilize the rifles when you plug it onto the arms by sliding the gauntlet up, which has a risk of scratching off the decals, mind you, and plugging it into this hole right here so as to stabilize it. Not that this kit needs it anyways, because this kit can hold it up fairly well if you can get the fingers in completely and properly, unlike what I did with the beam sabers. It's a little bit hard to get that in, so what I usually like to do is to plop the fingers in first, make sure they're properly set in there before I wedge the rifle into the hand. And here you have it, the twin buster rifles being held by the Wing Zero. And if the Glory of Losers equipment involves the shield over here. The shield does have a clear piece over here that I painted green. Pretty nice decal placement, pretty nice color separation, and of course some hidden mechanics that are all for the transformation. Now to put this into the arm, you will have no choice but to scratch off one piece of the decal over here as it did, because I've totally given up on trying to get that to stay on. So you flip this red fin all the way in, and you just slide the shield in and have these two pieces clamp onto the arm. And this is why it will scratch off the decal. It just goes right over it. So I don't think you have any choice but to let it scratch it off, unless there is some way to prevent that. And then finally, you do have the clavicle machine cannons that are on double hinges, so you can open those up and allow for the Wing Zero to use the machine cannons. So that's going to be all the accessories for the Wing Zero. First of all, for comparisons, of course I will have to bring in my Master Grade Gundam Barbatos for comparison. It is rightfully taller than the Wing Zero. Next up, let me bring in a monster, the High Grade Kshatriya, which is almost just as large as the Wing Zero. And finally, since I don't have the Master Grade RX-78-2 Gundam, I can only bring in its high grade equivalent, or entry grade in this case. Now this is where the video is going to get extremely long just because of the different modes, so let's get on with it. First of all, we do have the atmospheric entry mode, in which you first of all need to drop the shoulders and streamline everything. Then you want to rotate the wing up, and it just came right off. And you want to rotate the joint over here down. Not that joint, this joint, at the ball joint. And then what you want to do is to bring in a crotch brace over here to plug it over the crotch piece and adjust the feathers, of which I forgot to mention that each and every single one of them are on ball joints, and you just want to plug the flat peg into the indents of the brace. It's a little bit finicky, but eventually you'll get it to fit. And then finally, you want to raise these wings and open them up according to the instructions. Now evidently, because the lower feathers are gonna be poking past the feet, you will need to plug this on a stand. Now what you want to do is to remove this ass plug and reveal an action base hole, and this kit does come with an action base 1, I believe. Like I don't know if this is the one, but this is definitely one of the older ones. And you just plug the custom adapter made for the Wing Zero onto the butt. And now here you have the Wing Gundam Zero atmospheric entry mode. Here it is on the turntable, and what more could I say? It is basically what the Wing Zero is most well known for doing, apart from bunker busting with the twin buster rifles. Now, I really like the use of a brace on the crotch, because I remember the times when I was trying to put the Death Scythe Hell Master Grade into kind of like a similar mode. It is really hard, really troublesome, and it's basically tough to angle everything and just plug that one teeny tiny tab between the wings together. And especially when the design for the Wing Zero does not allow for taps between the wings, but a brace can actually stabilize the wings in front of it just to lock them into place, which is very, very nice. The open rear wings on the back do give it more of an oomph because of the individual feathers. And of course the weapons can all be stored in there, no problem. I just didn't bother to take the time to do that because recording, I have time limits. It's basically the only thing that it can do in this mode, because atmospheric entry, you're just either conserving space just to lock this thing into the one pose, or you can do one of the following other modes, which are the different bird modes. So first of all, let's talk about the space bird mode. But what you want to first do is to extend the knee armor, and you want to bend the leg backwards on the top joint so that the armor can separate, and then bend the leg forwards just like so. And then what you want to do now is to point the toe downwards just like usual. Same thing goes for the other side. And now what you want to do is to rotate the arms forward like this. And what I like to do is to retract this, and of course you need to drop the shoulder armor. And what you finally want to do is to push the gauntlet upwards, but then again it's going to be risky when you have the water slides on. Now for the space mode, what you want to do is to lift the arm and the shoulder up and extend the side skirts all the way. I'm going to do the other side on my own later on. And you drop this backpack down, put it in a lash position, and of course beware of collisions everywhere. And there is a teeny tiny peg over here that plugs into the back skirt to lock everything into place. And then what you are supposed to do is to rotate the joints over here forwards so that you can bring the wing under the armpit, and then you just rotate the wings back up at the ball joint, which is going to be a little bit of hassles. That's why I will advise removing the wing before you do that, just in case anything breaks. And of course what you want to do now is to open up these feathers over here and angle this one down here. Plug this thing back on. Same thing goes for the other side. And what you want to do now is to bring in this brace over here. So you just plug this thing into the crotch, which covers up everything. And you want to plug the same pegs that you plugged onto the brace earlier into these slits over here, which is going to be a little bit hard because I don't already have the joints in the correct position, but eventually you'll get that done. So same thing goes for the other side, and I'm going to be right back. And now you have this. Drop the arms back down, streamline everything back, lay these wings flat, and open these up. And then you have the Wing Gundam prepared. And now for the weapons over here, the shield has the most transformations going on. First of all, you want to open these wings. These are also geared, so you can move one piece to move the other. Open these tabs up all the way, and you want to open up this flap over here and then push it down to lock it into place. And then finally you bring this piece out and then rotate the bottom piece. This acts as the head cover, so as to cover up the head while the shield plugs onto the vacant space onto the backpack. And then finally you want to bring in the twin buster rifles and then plug this hole on the sides into the pegs that are on the sides of the shield. I'm going to bring in the other one and plug it in like so. Now the shield doesn't really stay on that well in the transformation, so you got to fix it and plug everything in properly before everything just cooperates. And then finally you bring in this adapter to plug it onto the hole provided by the brace, and this dislodges the wings somehow. And then you bring the action base back in, remove the adapter that's plugged into it, and then you just plug the Wing Zero in just like so. So here you have the Wing Zero charging down in the space. Now the space bird mode isn't really something that I could show while the camera is still, just because it's so high up and it's so freaking long. But I really do like this mode, and it is pretty innovative to implement the bird mode into the Wing Gundam Zero when I don't think it initially was supposed to do this. Although the process is pretty fluent, I find that I have the most trouble with the shield, mainly because I want to be delicate, but yeah, the shield goes over so many fins when it comes to the head. So of course you do have the ears and of course the V fin underneath, while the attachment point that is going to be plugged onto the vacant spot that is provided by the backpack isn't really that good, but I can have it resting in there just like this. But yeah, overall the transformation is rather smooth, but the bird mode does look pretty good over here. Of course, from the back you can basically see it is the Wing Zero lying on its wings while the shield is on the top, basically covering it up. And then finally, to transform it into the atmospheric mode, you raise these wings up completely and you basically unplug the wings from the brace and put it back where they were. Now that I have the wings out, what you want to do is to rotate the joints 180 degrees, raise the wings up, and then rotate the joints at the ball joint out. Just like so. And the same thing goes for the other one, and then you will have the atmospheric mode of the bird mode. So here it is in all its glory, and I do prefer this mode more than the out of atmosphere mode just because of the wider wingspan, giving it a more imposing look. But the Wing Gundam is still very busted when you look at it from the back, because it's essentially the grandfather of the face-on shield transformations. But over here on the front, this does look more imposing, but it does require more lining up of stuff, which is not what I'm good at. Mechanically, I do prefer the out of atmosphere mode, but if I can line everything up perfectly, then the atmospheric mode is the one that I would prefer. Tell me in the comments below which one do you prefer and which one of the modes would you display your Wing Zero on. For leftover parts, apart from the leftover adapters that were included for the stand, you do have 4 feathers over here that are left over because this plate is reprinted. And you do have 2 extra joints over here because this plate is also reprinted. So that's gonna wrap it up for the Master Grade Wing Gundam Zero version Kotoki review. The silhouette spot on, panel lining options plentiful, the decals help a lot, and of course the color separation and the color tones do add to the spice of this kit. The structural integrity, I really do like how it is just basically solid without being too solid. And of course I do appreciate the legs having the mechanic to slide back and forth for the bunker buster pose. The accessories are box standard for the Wing Zero, but they are well implemented mechanically and aesthetically. But the shield is a pretty good surprise for me because I expected this thing to be just an updated version of the old Wing Zero without the shield. But the shield itself, well, it has a lot of mechanics that are pretty well implemented, but the one thing about it is that it doesn't have enough strength for the connections in the bird mode because it's only connected into the vacant space of the backpack with just a simple tap. Speaking of transformations, I really do like the inclusion of the braces for when the wings are closed in front of the Gundam, just so it allows for an easier experience to line everything up perfectly. And the modes themselves, they do look very, very nice. Last but not least, I really do appreciate the inclusion of a stand in this kit, just because most of the stuff that the Wing Zero does is in the air, so you will have to have a stand for that, and I'm glad Bandai actually included one for this. So all in all, I will give this thing a 9 out of 10. I will absolutely recommend it to anybody who wants to experience the Wing Zero Master Grade version of Toki for themselves, although it is a little bit disappointing that this was the new version Ka instead of the G-Self that was chosen to be the next version Ka for like 5 years ago. But this thing is definitely worth going for. So that's gonna wrap it up for me. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please be sure to drop a like, comment, and also subscribe for more Gunpla reviews, Gunpla news, and all that kind of stuff. Subscribe to the featured channels on my channel page if you haven't, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.